verses 1 to 9. And let's see, would you like to go ahead and start with the translation? So anyone remember where we are at in the 11th canto? What's going on?
Yesterday, Buddha was asking, he said, I love you.
He said what?
I love you.
He said, I love you. Yeah. Yeah, it's a conversation with Buddha and Krishna. And Krishna's going to talk about the various, what the value of devotee association is actually in this starting this chapter. Alright.
The Supreme Personality of God has said, My dear Uddhava, by associating with my pure devotees, one can destroy one's attachment for all objects of material sense gratification. Such purifying association brings me under the control of my devotee. One may perform the Ashtanga Yoga system, engage in philosophical analysis of the elements of material nature, practice nonviolence and other ordinary principles of piety, chant the Vedas, perform penances, take to the renounced order of life, execute sacrificial performances, and dig wells. plant trees, and perform other public welfare activities, give in charity, carry out severe vows, worship the demigods, chant confidential mantras, visit holy places, or accept major and minor disciplinary injunctions. But even by performing such activities, one does not bring me under his control.
Alright, so who remembers what are some of the different ways that don't work in bringing Krishna under their control?
Chanting secret mantras.
What's that? Chanting secret mantras?
Secret mantras.
Sacred mantras.
Oh, I thought it said secret.
Confidential.
Confidential, I see. What else? What else doesn't work? Pilgrimage.
Digging a well.
Digging a well. Got all those well diggers, sorry. What else?
Worshipping demigods.
Worshipping demigods, yeah. What else doesn't give you love of Krishna?
Visiting holy places,
Even visiting holy places.
severe vows.
Severe vows, yeah. Anything else to remember?
Giving in
Practicing
charity.
non-violence.
Practicing non-violence, yeah. What do you want?
Sacrificial performances.
Sacrificial performance. Did you zoom it up? Have you brought it up? Was it worse? Okay. Yeah. Oh, this is still a quiz. My brain down to that. And tutor, yeah. Anything else?
Ashtanga yoga.
Asana yoga, yeah.
Roman finances.
Got needed and not you. Alright, okay, we can bring it up. Back again. So yeah, Ashtanga yoga, philosophical analysis of the elements of material nature. I believe that's the Sankhya, the practice of non-violence and other ordinary principles of piety, which actually the Sanskrit for the Dharma, just plain old Dharma, piety and non-violence. So even that doesn't, it's because oftentimes in India at least, or actually even in the West, people think, you just gotta be a good person, whatever that means. As they eat their KFC chicken, gotta be a good person. And then they're like, that's everything God's gonna love you. Well, not for me. What else? Chant the Veda, and then of course, if you're coming from Vedic background, chant the Vedas, perform penances, take the renounced order of life. That's an interesting one because, taking the renounced Tyaga, that's the word for it. And so just renunciation in general doesn't necessarily help. And sometimes there's this image that if you're a great sannyasi, great renunciate, and that's it. You got to figure that out, but not necessarily really. There's actually a lot more to devotion to Krishna than just being renunciate. Sacrificial performances, taking vows, planting trees, because these are just pious activities, taking vows for the benefit of others, planting trees for the benefit of others. So other public welfare activities, giving in charity, severe vows, worship demigods, chant confidential mantras, visit holy places, and accept major and minor disciplinary injunctions. So all those Catholic nuns don't qualify for all the disciplinary injunctions that they put their students through. But also another word over here, it said Ratani, taking vows such as fasting completely on Ekadashi. And so these are all things that of course help us in Krishna consciousness, but then they're not by themselves, they're not necessarily, the main things. Krishna himself lists these various items. But these are not the main things that actually give one love of Krishna. Any thoughts on all these activities? Let's not come up with that.
So all these things listed can very easily just be activities performed so that we can get a specific result from the one.
Yeah. It can be for a very specific purpose, and even if it's a pious activity for a pious result, it still can be very materialistic and material practice. Alright, next.
In every yuga, many living entities entangled in the modes of passion and ignorance gain the association of my devotees. Thus, such living entities as the Daityas, Rakshasas, birds, beasts, Gandharvas, Apsaras, Nagas, Siddhas, Charmas, Kuyakas, and Vidyadharas, as well as such lower class human beings as the Vaishyas, Sudras, women, and others, were able to achieve my supreme abode. Vitrasura, Prahlad Maharaj, and others like them also achieved my abode by association with my devotees, as the personalities such as Vishaparva, Ali Maharaj, Banasura, Maya, Vibhisana, Sugriva, Hanuman, Jambavan, Gajendra, Shantayu, Tuladhara, Dharma Vyadha, Kupja, the gopis in Vrindavan, and the wives of the brahmanas who were performing sacrifice.
There's so many good,
So many.
it's interesting to know. I was looking at the Sanskrit in translation. Even though it translates as lower class human beings such as Vaishyas, Shudras, and others, the Sanskrit doesn't necessarily, it's not necessarily written out that way. It just mentions those categories, Vaishyas, Shudras, and women, and then it says, and those found in brothers Thomas, so more passion, ignorance. So that could be anyone really, it's not necessarily. So sometimes, this happened in the past where the word is used as worship, and put down women that are lower class, lower class, but it's been misused, this kind of worship. So the point is that we are all lower class human. Any first class human being here? Yeah, me too. But yeah, we are, especially in the East Asian Valley, we are all lower class human beings, so the worship class problems.
Just a thought in regards to this, because it's something that we discussed previously. Are the children of devotees lower class Sudras and Kali?
Depends on how you feel it. I mean, it is guna karma, regardless of guna, their gunas, their nature, and karma, their actions. It depends on how they behave, but of course, yeah, I mean, it's how it is.
So, yeah, we had a big discussion about this, and I'm just wondering. So, I'm trying to ask a question about it. What specifically brings about, in other words, the process of having children hasn't changed in terms of basics, I guess. You could say that. So what's the Prabhupada talked about a distinction in terms of why in the age of Kali that the population is suture followed. Yeah. Why the population becomes just lower class? But Prabhupada brings up something specific, and it's very essential. But let me just ask the general group to see what group. The sanskars. Prabhupada mentions specifically without the performance of Garbhadan sanskar that the population goes down. This is an amazing technology that devotees, that's available to devotees, and we know of this in terms of what that, there are people who want to have children, but in terms of what they could do prior to conceiving a child, and what the difference that makes, that's not something that's known. It's a very interesting, something that we can change the population by understand.
There's some scars or impressions in the mind. You can say this life, death, consciousness.
That's Prabhupada says the consciousness of the parents during conception has a lot to do with the jiva that involved within the womb. So it's very important.
Yeah.
It's great science.
I have quick comment on that though. All that being said, I think it can be a little bit risky to have this idea that like, oh, the nature of the child is dependent on the consciousness of the parents, because like I've heard that there's like an older female devotee, Mataji, who said that when she had a female child, and other devotees were like, oh, you must have been too lusty when like, right? Like it's like if the child is like not conforming completely to societal expectations.
So if you had a son, then they were perfect.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, something like that. But yeah, so if the child in some way does not perfectly conform to the standards, then it might be people who are like less informed, who have kind of heard of the samskara yogana, the samskaras, but like don't really understand it, might judge the parents, and that might kind of like lead to something that leads to like an unfriendly atmosphere.
Well, it actually explains in the purports in the diagram somewhere that you can help determine whether it's a boy or a girl. You can manipulate, what Prabhupada says, whoever sexual fluids are more, if the woman's sexual fluids are more, that's a girl. If the man's sexual fluids are less, that tends to be male. So that's, I guess, where the more lusty comes from. That really has nothing to do with it. You can manipulate things.
All right, moving on. Next verse.
The persons I have mentioned before under the serious terms of the information, nor do they worship great senior persons, nor do they execute severe vows or austerities. Simply by association with the abundance they achieve.
The inhabitants of Vrindavan, including the gopis, cows, unruly creatures such as the twin Arjuna trees, animals, living entities with stunted consciousness such as bushes and thickets, and snakes such as Alia, all achieve the perfection of life by unalloyed love for me, and thus very easily achieve it.
Even though one engages with great endeavor in the mystic yoga system, philosophical speculation, charity, vows, penances, ritualistic sacrifices, teachings of Vedic mantras to others, personal study of the Vedas, or the renounced order of life, still one cannot achieve it.
Kevalena bhavena Yogavo Nagamrika Yanye Muranianaga Siddhama Virandasa Kevalena bhavena Yogavo Nagamrika
Yene Murali Onaga, Zidama Miranjasa. Devalena Pranaloy, Hindi, Bhavena Prada, Gopya Gopis, Kava, Vrindavan cows, Naga, Yamuri creatures of Vrindavan, sisters of twin identities, Mriga, other animals, Ye, yours, Anye, others, Gunadiya, with such intelligence, Naga, Vrindavan snakes such as Satya, Siddha, teaching of perfection of life, Ram to me, you the Brahma, Anjasa quite easily. Translation: the inhabitants of Vrindavan, including the gopis, cows, and living creatures, such as the twin ardent trees, animals, living entities with stunted consciousness, such as bushes and thickets, and snakes, such as Kaliya, all achieve the perfection of life by unalloyed love for me, and thus very easily achieve. Although innumerable living entities achieve liberation by association with the Lord and his devotees, many such personalities also executed other processes, such as austerity, charity, philosophical speculation, and so on. As we have already explained, such procedures are secondary, but the inhabitants of Vrindavan, such as the gopis, did not know anything except Lord Krishna, and their whole purpose in life was simply to love Lord Krishna, as indicated here by the words Kevalena Hipavena. Even the trees, bushes, and hills, such as Govardhan, love Lord Krishna. As the Lord himself explains to his brother Sri Baladev in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam 10:55, Ahomi, what's the Ahomi Deva Varamarkitam Padam Bhujamte Sumana Pagaranam Namandirvaraya Shikhabhiyatmanas Namo Bhate Tavidanmayakritam. My dear brother Baladev, just see how these trees are bowing down with their branches and offering obeisances to your lotus feet, which are worshipable even by the demigods. Indeed, my dear brother, you are the supreme God, and thus these trees have produced fruits and flowers as an offering to you. Although a living entity takes birth as a tree due to the mode of ignorance, certainly by such a birth in Vrindavan, these trees are destroying all darkness in their life by serving your lotus feet. Although many living entities achieve the mercy of Lord Krishna by associating with the Lord and his devotees in various ways, those who take Lord Krishna as everything are situated in the highest process of spiritual realization. Therefore, the Lord has not bothered to mention in this verse those who have achieved perfection through mixed processes, but rather glorifies the unalloyed devotees of Vrindavan, headed by the gopis, who knew nothing but Lord Krishna. The residents of Vrindavan were so satisfied in their relationship with Lord Krishna that they did not pollute their loving service with mental speculation or fruitive desires. The gopis served Lord Krishna in the conjugal rasa of relationship, whereas according to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, the cows loved Krishna in Vatsalya rasa, or the love of parents for a child, because the cows were always supplying milk to child Krishna. Unmoving objects like Govardhan Hill and other hills and mountains love Lord Krishna as a friend. And the ordinary animals, trees, and bushes of Vrindavan love Lord Krishna in Dasa Rasa, or with love of a servant for his master. Snakes like Kaliya also develop this love in servitude, and after relishing their loving service to Lord Krishna, all of them went back home back together. Regarding to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, all these inhabitants of Vrindavan should be considered eternally liberated souls, as expressed by the word Siddha, which means having achieved the perfection of life. So Krishna, these various activities one can do, and in the realm of religion, there's so many things that people do to make progress, and especially in the Vedic setup, people do all these various activities to really gain a better birth, or higher birth in the next life. And that's why when both of you pointed out that these various activities that they do, they can be done for a very specific thing and not as service to Krishna. And it's interesting to know that those items, many of them, like going to pilgrimage, but so many of them can be done actually as devotional service to Krishna. But the point is that the devotion has to be there. And so when we start our Krishna consciousness, or even later, at later stages in our Krishna consciousness, we still have those two things that was mentioned in the purport. Mental speculation through the desires. It still is there in varying degrees in our hearts. Yeah. Who here is free from fruitive desires? Other than me. Yeah, there's always like a middle. But there's our hearts. The reason why we are in this material world is because we have these material desires, right? And it takes time to process all those desires. And of course, in each life, we go through the cycle of, having to fulfill those various material desires. And it only further entangles us, because one thing always just leads to another, and so forth. It's funny because I was thinking this morning that I owe money to this one devotee and never paid him back. That was years ago. And I was thinking, do I have to come back to the material world if I don't give him that $30 I owe him? And I was thinking that the Plaza Karma is actually so entangling. It's a small thing like that. Prabhupada says that even if you owe a penny, Prabhupada says you have to come back and return that penny. And so I got $30. But yeah, so even as we're practicing Krishna consciousness, we still have to go, process these various material desires. And that's why Prabhupada, talks about Bhakti Yoga as the highest yoga. That's why we jump to it. There's all these various things. There's Ashtanga Yoga, there's Jnana Yoga, and Karma Yoga, and so forth. And of course, especially Jnana and Karma can be done as Bhakti Yoga, but, Prabhupada talks about how this, especially skipping the Ashtanga Yoga part, because that's a lot of physical yoga. And he talks about how you just jump up to Bhakti Yoga. And this is the reason why you jump up to Bhakti Yoga. Because it actually cleans our hearts. It actually relieves us gradually of these various material and fruitive desires in our hearts. And it actually works, And but how do you really practice Bhakti Yoga? Krishna talks about it in the first few verses. What was the main point that he brought up in these verses about that's essential to achieving love for Krishna for him, love for him?
Devotee association.
Devotee association, yeah, he talks about that. And the first verse itself. No, the first one was what not to do. And the second one, 36, where he lists all these various different types of beings. Every yuga, many living entities entangled in the modes of passion and urge, gain the association of my devotees. Thus, such living entities, they all achieve my supreme abode. And then he lists again more names: Vipasura, Lama, Kali Maharaj, Riva, Vishnu. They all and the gopis in the mountain, of course. And that's the key thing, really, getting the association with the devotees. There are so many activities one can do with this, all kinds of pious activities and religious activities. But again, it is of no use. And it's interesting to know as the Bhagavatam is coming to gradually close the 11th Kanto, Krishna really is doing it often about devotee association. And yet he's not talking about what's the good dharma for this age, he actually talks a lot about devotee association. Why do you think he talks so much about it, devotee association? What about it is so important to you?
I heard that he had said that I had heard that he had said 5 people that you associate with the most highest influences in your life. So I guess my answer would be influence.
Yeah, it's influence, yeah. Not else.
I think it's because, well, Srimad Bhagavatam is the literary incarnation of Krishna, but even, you know, materially it seems to have a beginning or an end. So if you get into the 11th canto, 12th canto, then you might think, oh, okay, I'm going to be, you know, done reading this, and I can just kind of put it away until, you know, next year or whatever like that. So, but if you associate with saintly persons, then it's like an infinite Bhagavatam, you know, it's like you get you might not get all the exact stories and everything, but you get really the essence of it, and it can stay with you and keep going with you, because that's who we are. We like to keep associated with each other.
I also think association helps with practice, having loving relationships. You can have one with Krishna, you can have one with his devotees.
The nature of our minds, we're just easily distracted, like dogs chasing cars, by content engagement and activity with devotees is just like reinforcing those patterns in our mind, so we're almost unable to escape it. Like, if you, like yesterday's gratitude, if you associate with people that are also grateful, you'll in turn just soak that in.
Yeah.
Osmosis.
Yeah, osmosis. I was just thinking that osmosis. Yeah. Especially when we live with osmosis. Especially when you live in the ashram, you know, you live with other devotees, or associate with other devotees, then it's really a lot by osmosis. And I was lucky enough to do this sadhusanga this year after a while, and then you're just there, and all these exalted devotees are there, and maybe just kind of just it's like a sponge. You just have to be a sponge, and to be a sponge in Krishna consciousness, you just need a little humility that this little humility that you don't think that you're the best person in this whole wide world. All you have to do is realize that you're not know of everything, that you're not the best kirtan, you're the best whatever, that you're the, you know, that, yeah, maybe I'm not, maybe I need some help. All you have to do is think that much, and then you will be a little sponge and you just suck up all the, you know, not suck up from them, but you absorb all the Krishna consciousness that they're offering actually. It just takes a little humility. And yeah, in Sanskrit there's a verse actually Krishna's talking about it, the trees that are laden with fruits, and because they have so many good qualities, that's why the trees, you know, the branches are kind of, they're bowing, they're bowing or bending. And the trees that don't have any good qualities, they're standing really stiff. And then when you try to bend the branch, it just breaks. And so a person with good qualities, they naturally have some ability, and they're always ready to serve other devotees and hear from them, and they then naturally absorb the other, their good qualities. But a tree that doesn't have any good qualities, then it's kind of stiff. Not willing to do this to anyone else. And when you try to, bend it very easily, because they don't actually know how much. But yeah, the point being that devotee association is rare, really, in this material world. And how many people out there waking up in the morning, chanting God's names, and following these four regular principles, and doing service with devotion, love and devotion. How many people are out there? And most people are out there just doubtful, everyone's just out there to, actually I was reading the literature talk, the Hindi's article yesterday, and certain parts of India, of course, in the Far East also has literally talk. And so it's just, everyone's just after each other to get more and more strength and power and so forth, as the nature of this material world, and everybody just keeps fighting. And in that material world, how many people are there really who really want to work towards self-realization, who really want to know God, and how, and then there's a bunch, there's a lot of religions, and initially there's a sincere people, set amount of sincere people, and then amongst those religions, how many of them are there who actually no Krishna, and are working towards having an intimate relationship with Krishna. The devotees are really there actually. And it is all part of good fortune to have association with devotees. And so yeah, one should not take it for granted actually. And sometimes when one takes it for granted, then Krishna kind of puts us in a situation where we don't have much devotee association. And then we realize, oh yeah, actually having some great quality for our must be. But a person who knew this is well, then he realizes the value of this wealth, the value of the wealth. So yeah, when we sometimes lose the devotee association, we go away from the devotees, we realize, oh yeah, oh my God, I had this wealth and now I want not have it. Have you ever lost anything? Have you lost your wallet or anything? No, so how do you feel when you lose something valuable in the lose? Oh no, I lost it. I lost this valuable thing. I was a friend of mine who gave me a $100 gift card and then I lost it and it felt like $1 million. And then when I found it again, I was like, oh, I found it. Now I'm going to use that. Like, actually, that was my instinct. I let it sit for a while. I just wasn't using it and I lost it. And then when I found it again, I was like, I'm going to use it tomorrow. So it's like that because I don't lose it again. The devotee association is like that. It's this wealth that is naturally there, at least in temples and centers. And sometimes we might take it for granted, but then when we lose it, we hanker for it. And then we think, and then when we get it back, like, I'm going to use it up tomorrow. I'm going to be with the devotees. I'm going to go to the japa walk. I'm going to do japa with them. I'm going to hear Bhagavad class. I'm going to eat prasad with them. So it actually, works out like that. So you should not take as long as one doesn't take the devotee association lightly, Krishna will get the devotee association. And that's what really helps us grow. Devotees will just do a process slowly, just by association. And there's a pastime in one of the Puranas about Ambrish Maharaj's brother. Ambrish Maharaj was a great devotee. His brother, on the other hand, was not. So was that Ambrish? I don't know his name actually, I can't remember. I don't know if the name was something on the last page, was a story. I don't know if it was. But yeah, so Ambrish Maharaj was a great devotee, but his brother was not. So Narada Muni was talking to Ambrish Maharaj, and he said, "Oh, well, maybe let's go preach to your brother a little bit, about Krishna consciousness." So Ambrish Maharaj said, just so you know, my brother is not a devotee, and he tends to get a bit wild when people kind of preach to him. You ever come across people like that? Yes. So Narada Muni said, "That's all right, just still go." So they went, and initially, so the other brother also was a king, and he welcomed the Brahmana and Narada Muni, and he was being nice to them, and then gradually Narada Muni started preaching to him, and the brother starts getting agitated, and then and he gets upset, and then he finally starts like yelling, and then starts chasing them, chasing Narada Muni, chasing them away, basically, Narada Muni and Ambrish Maharaj. And as Narada Muni is running, and the king is running, Narada Muni just tells them, "Oh king, just at the time of death, just ask the Yamadutas, what is the value of a moment's association with a devotee?" And he just like, as they were running, just said that, right? And so of course, the brother, the king got old and he died, and the Yamadutas came, and then he was, as described in the Bhagavatam, there's a lot of pain and anguish when the Yamadutas was trying to taking the Yamaraj. So at that point, he asked them, he said, "Oh, the Yamadutas, I have a question. What is the value of moment's association with the devotee of Krishna?" And they said, "Well, we're going to take you to Yamaraj. He's Yamaraj, he knows a lot. He probably be able to answer the question." So then he took him to Yamaraj. They asked him, "Dear Yamaraj, before I'm sentenced to one sentence, please tell me what is the value of what happens when you get a moment's association with the devotee?" And Yamaraj said, "Well, I do not know, but you can go to Lord Shiva and ask." So they went to Lord Shiva. They asked, "What happens when you get a moment's association with the devotee?" Lord Shiva said, "Let's go to Lord Brahma." And we turned to Lord Brahma. lots of them, what happens when you get it? And they all, the group is getting bigger and bigger. What happens? Yamaraj goes too, Shiva goes too. What happens when you get Women's Association of Joy? Well, Brahma said, well, let's go ask Lord Vishnu himself. And they all went, all of them together to Lord Vishnu. Dear Lord Vishnu, what happens when you get a Women's Association of Joy? And Lord Vishnu said, this happens. You get to Vaikuntha. You come to the spiritual world. So just by that. And Narada Muni was such an expert preacher. He knew this would happen. He knew that they would all end up going to Lord Vishnu. And so that was the point of the story. Just because he had a Women's Association with Narada Muni, even though it was not he actually still with a certain benefit. And of course, it doesn't mean that we chase the body and chase the idea and still go back to that. The point is that this Women's Association is actually very beneficial. But what we talk about, a lot of moments of association, because the process of Krishna consciousness is gradual, and we have to improve our quality of association with the devotees. It's not just hanging out with them. It's like do we study the scriptures together? Do we serve each other? Do we serve the devotees? Do we do nice kirtans and violence together with the devotees? That is quality association. And of course, friendships too. Of course, having friendship and serving each other is always there also. But the more higher quality of our association, the better. It only purifies our hearts more and more. And that's why Krishna really emphasizes, this is coming to the end of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Krishna is focusing. And even in other pastimes, when Dhruva Maharaj, so Dhruva Maharaj was a little kid, and he did all these austerities based on instruction and Narada Muni. And then all of a sudden, the Supreme Lord Vishnu is there. And what does he ask for? What's the main thing he asks? He initially wanted a kingdom bigger than his grandfather's, which I think grandfather Brahma. So initially he wanted that, but once this Vishnu he asked on his side. But then he asked for one thing. What did he ask for?
Association of devotees.
Association of devotees. Did you have something else?
To serve him lifetime after lifetime.
Yeah, I believe that was there too, But the first thing he did ask was, association of devotees actually. He asked that, and I was thinking, God is standing in front of him, and he's asking for association with devotees. Because sometimes you would think, you'd be asking for association with devotees so that we can go back to God. That's like the end goal. But here he is, Lord Vishnu is there in front of him, and he's asking for association with devotees actually. And not that we don't compare it like, oh, this is higher than the other, but that's what is so valuable when we have association with devotees. Naturally, then we're Krishna conscious. Naturally, Krishna is there. I believe there's a verse in one of the Puranas, Lord Vishnu saying himself. He says, I don't think I can remember. He says, wherever my devotees are glorifying my name and fame and so forth, I am present over there.
I've heard it, but I don't remember which verse it is.
But that's the gist of it. That wherever my devotees are singing my glories and my name and fame, and I'm present there personally. Wherever devotees are doing that, Krishna's there, and that's what makes such places unique. That's what makes Krishna house or any temple really special when devotees sincerely chant Krishna's names and name and pastimes and so forth. And Krishna is there himself. And just imagine this whole material world is just such a dry, not desert, desert, dry desert, where this everyone's just hankering for some happiness. And then all of a sudden, the devotees are able to sincerely chant Krishna's name and pastimes, and Krishna himself is there. And that's what Prabhupada talks about in the Nectar of Instruction. He say that we have established this international society for Krishna consciousness, so that the members, they can become more Krishna conscious, and then others can come and take advantage of that association. So it is up to us to delve deeper into Krishna consciousness, not just for ourselves, but actually for the benefit of others. Because the more we advance in Krishna consciousness, we can give our association to others. And that is our main service. But yeah, any thoughts or comments so far or anything? Yeah.
Yes, two things. As far as I feel like even devotee presence is auspicious. I even here in this material world because my mom saw Bonnie Knot one time doing japa on the side of the street.
Yeah.
And he directed her to the temple where she met my dad, you know? So I've known my whole life that devotees are very special, and there's been times where I've been not practicing Krishna consciousness and seen them, and it blows my wig back, and it makes me question my whole life, you know, and then hanker for their association. And what I wanted to share was that when I was spiritually seeking this year, I got the desire in my mind to want to see devotees at the springs. So I traveled to Gainesville to go to the springs, hoping that I would see devotees. And then not too far after that, I ended up being one at the springs with devotees.
Nice, and now you're here. Thoughts, comments?
Few short comments. The Bible also mentions in Matthew that wherever two or three are gathered in God's name, He is present there amongst them. The same topic is there in the Bible. And I also just wanted to make a comment on you mentioned that it's also about associating properly, the quality of our association, not just thinking, well, let's hang out with this person. So what is it that really helps us associate properly? And you mentioned like read Shastra together, serve together, serving each other. I think the etiquette is also important. Etiquette, like learning what Vaishnava etiquette and Vaishnava culture really means. We have a tendency to think of those themes as something that's very robotic or cold. But it's actually the very key that can unlock even more personal and intimate difference between us and the other devotees around us. So the etiquette and culture is really something we should be eager to explore and learn more about. And then last thought, I just thought it's very nice in one purport commentary of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur points out that the hills and mountains are in friendship mood, the cows are in parental mood, and the plants are in servitude mood. Sometimes, I think it's even said that one thinks that those different entities are more in a Shanta rasa than neutral rasa. It's interesting to see that they're not. They're in other moods.
Thank you very much for class. Your comments about, the thing with the $100 gift card and disability association, and also how the material world can be kind of like a desert where, the devotees are kind of like an oasis. Reminds me of a song. I'm going to sing a little bit. Very short. They pay paradise and put up a parking lot with a big hotel, a boutique, and a swinging hot spot. Don't it always seems to go that you don't know what you got till it's gone. They pay paradise and put up a parking lot.
Mic drop.
We got the end of the year party, so.
Okay.
One last point. Yeah, you can do it all, okay? One last point. In the third canto, when Lord Vishnu is talking to the four Kumaras, and he brings up, he says this, he speaks really nicely. It's amazing when you hear somebody speak, when you're impressed. When I read that section of the third canto, when I read that, I'm like, oh my God, this is so cool. We moved this word too. Now it's included with portion. But he makes this point that anyone in the entire world, even down to the Chandala, who lives by cooking and eating the flesh of the dog, is immediately purified if it takes part in hearing through the ear the glorification of my name, fame, etc. Now you have realized me without doubt. Therefore, I will not hesitate to block off my own arm if its conduct is found hostile to you. So I was thinking that, Lord Vishnu himself values devotees so much that he's saying that even if his own arm is going against the devotees, he just block it out, chop it off. And it says, he goes on to say, I do not enjoy the oblations offered by the sacrificers in the sacrificial fire. It is one of my own mouths, with the same relish as I do the delicacies overflowing with ghee, which are offered to the mouths of the Brahmanas who have dedicated to me the results of their activities and who are ever satisfied with my prasad. Yeah, the Lord Krishna is always satisfied when the devotees are happy. So that's another point, another addition to that point that devotee association is so valuable. Actually, can really stable. On that note, go for prasadam. All right. Jai.